game. How do you want to make it in this? Do people give you that authority? And then once you, oh, it's what's crazy is when they give you the authority of creation, you literally create that video game or that path or whatever it is for that business. Oh, it's beautiful. That's what's fun. That's what when things get really fun is when you gain that trust. People are like, go for it. And it's like, all right, so you just build everything, and it's that's I love that.
Cool, man. Dude, that's a great way to start this off. All right. I had no idea what we were going to be talking about today because Mario, as typical Mario, kicks my butt, makes me take some action. And he threw us in and talking about like, a lot of you guys here, by the way, super cool people on this call. A lot of you guys know about me as documentation dude, a snapshot dude, maybe. But really, everything that I've kind of done is a lot of what Cam's talking about. So I love that a lot of these kind of people are here. Um, and what we're really trying to do is just figure out what's actually going on, right? And because there's a lot of ways of getting things started. There's a lot of ways of getting a snapshot, a vibe code, an AI thing. But at some point, we run into that thing where we start running into problems. And as we said, we get to kind of design this. We can either just kind of hope we figure it out and keep pushing forward, or we can kind of design a way to actually consistently move forward, consistently keep launching, consistently, or handing it off so that we're not doing it anymore. So, but yeah, Mario, man, I'll give you a little thanks for jumping in, but you want to say a few words there, or is that what you're looking to get done here today? Let's talk about that
No, that's
stuff.
really what I want to, excuse me, still a little bit sick, but yeah, that's really what I wanted to get done today was kind of just talk about, what everyone's working on, what kind of documentation and process they have. It's really cool that you and Cam are both on because, the two of you especially are operations and process people. So this is a great opportunity for us to learn from some of the best. Um, Say hi to everyone on Facebook and YouTube because we are live streaming, so that is pretty cool. Hello. But
Hello.
yeah, I actually have been working on a couple projects and am trying to find kind of my groove in documenting them because ultimately, like, what I want to do is a really good write-up of this project that I'm working on. But because I'm so squirrel brained, like, I have a really hard time like actually writing down what I'm doing. So I'm live audio recording and talking as I do it, and then also using ChatGPT in one singular running conversation to treat as my documentation because that's like what I bounce all my ideas off of.
Sick, man. So, yeah. So what's really cool is one, you just said that Cam and I are kind of the best that you know of. And both Cam and I started this conversation before everyone jumped in by saying, it's kind of weird where we don't really know what we're doing until we just start getting in and we kind of figure things out. We start asking some questions, writing things down. So if you guys are ever thinking about documenting and feeling like you got to get it all figured out, that's what documenting is actually for. Documenting is not about just, we already know the answer. We already know everything about how everything goes. We're just trying to write down what we know. That's not what documenting is about. Documenting is about trying to actually figure out what's happening. It's finding out what you know and what you don't know about your app. Because you build something like Mario, we all know he's building like 5 apps a day at this point. And, it's like the amount of things that Mario's putting out that he's probably forgetting because he's going on to the next thing is more than most of us probably learn in like a month, right? So when you are working at a really fast speed and your teams are going and you have smart people on your team, the amount of really good ideas and really cool things that you built is being created and it's being promptly forgotten why you built the thing you did, what it needs to keep running. So documenting for me, one thing that I've learned as a principle, and I've seen it work in a couple different things, is that documentation kind of as you go is one of the main principles. If you're creating something of value, you need to kind of capture it well the value's actually still in your head. I don't know about all of you guys. I don't know how much you remember, but that's one thing. And then the second thing documentation is I got a little Gulliver right here, my little duck. And
The
anyone
duck.
who's ever been in the yeah, anyone who's ever been in the programming space might know why I have this little duck here on my desk, is because it's called rubber duck debugging. And some really smart dude a long time ago realized that when he asked somebody for help, he got stuck on a problem. And he said, hey, I have this problem and here's what's going on. And by the time he finished explaining what was going on to somebody, what his problem was, he already kind of figured out the solution. And then he kind of went on back on his day. So he thought, well, I have a little duck on my desk and I'll just explain to the duck what my problem is and I'll solve it. So the second cool thing that I've kind of learned about documenting is it's giving you some sort of accountability, especially if you're thinking of working with another team, of having to explain what you built and why you built it or how it works in a way that someone else can actually understand it. Going through that process is going to, one, solve a lot of your problems already, and it kind of keeps that accountability in. When you keep it all in your head, that's when, everything makes sense in your head until you have to explain it to somebody. So those, I think, were two big things that I've been feeling. I don't know, Cam, are you tracking with that, or is there any other pieces to the puzzle there?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you what I do. It's just like, you're going to deal with chaos constantly, always. You're never going to know what you're going to deal with. So like, kind of a mix of what Mario said and what you were saying was, like, he uses AI, he uses like ChatGPT or whatnot, right? I always say just record absolutely freaking everything, every process that you're doing, every click that you're doing, record absolutely everything. And then if you're missing something, most cases AI will fill in the gap. Right? That's what I do typically. And for me, it's like, I don't know the solution until, again, like you were saying, like, I hear the solution. Once I hear the solution, again, I'm a child with a drawing board. I just draw a blueprint and I say, what's the next step? And then I just think of it as like, maybe this is a weird analogy, but I think of it as like, you're a shepherd and you have your sheep, right? And your sheep have to go in certain corrals. And how do you place them? How do you filter them? How do you organize them? And there's a good book. It's The Way of the Sheep, right? Or The Way of the Shepherd is what it's called. That's the book. And it kind of teaches you that. But that's what I do. It's just, you deal with chaos. Like, you're going to get stuck. Best thing to do, I always say, is draw a little box. If you have a drawing diagram software, draw a little box and just move forward and say, what's the other chaos that we're dealing with? What's the other chaos? And then sure enough, you're going to have it organized at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, man. Hey, Jake, yeah, man, what's happening, dude?
How we doing? Hope everyone's doing good, feeling good today. I appreciate y'all hosting this call. I had a question. It's just kind of a thought that was triggered at some point by y'all's conversation with where AI is at right now. Are there any tools that you're using that are automating documentation at all? Just kind of like keeping a screen record on and it just essentially is creating it for you, and then you can kind of give it a run through and fix it up. Obviously over some time you give it feedback and it adapts to your style and whatnot.
Uh, I I'm gonna have a different take on it. Don't use a lot of AI for my documenting, and probably because of the way my perspective. And by the way, guys, this is we're gonna have an open call here. Like, well, there's a couple people here, might be big process people, but like, this is all uncharted territory, like all kinds of new stuff. And so everyone, yeah, I definitely want anyone who's got thoughts, just jump on in. The big thing for AI for me is that there's two types. I think it's kind of discerning the types of documentation. Having AI like screen recorder kind of stuff, that I don't know a lot about, because a lot of my work goes on the accountability testing and like where the rubber hits the road kind of stuff. What I've found is that it's really important to not just collect more data and more information. When it comes to a system actually working, I need to have very specific information that I'm capturing first. And because because I find when you're just capturing everything, I think it's a different problem than I generally want to solve. So I wouldn't say has anyone dealt with that kind of documentation of just like more just kind of remembering things that are happening? Is that kind of what you're looking for, Jake, or is it for like documenting a project?
I guess, I'm documenting everything, I guess, pretty much like anything that you do probably can be broken up into different SOPs, I would say. So whether it be how you handle a new client's onboarding or how you respond to a certain type of support email or the framework for a sales call, I guess all these
इसका
things need
मतलब मुख
SOPs.
से देखो इधर देखो मुख से क्या अंदर की
Or again,
Yes, sir.
the misery. Yeah, there you go. Pretty much. I'm thinking anything, pretty much, whether it be like the actual how to use a software, how to build a software, how to, the framework of a sales call. I'm thinking that anything on a computer screen, essentially, if you did want documentation, probably could apply AI to create it. So I kind of was meant in a very broad sense because I think it could apply
Gotcha.
in a broad sense.
Yeah, one thing I'm looking for, one I don't know, and I'd love to know if anyone's been dealing with that, because I want to know about just being able, like the people I meet and, little next steps in the call, like who are the people, like everyone's in a call here. We're going to have little sidebars, things like that. I'd love to have an AI that just kind of like, it's like, hey, here's 12 people that you talked with on this call, and here's something that, and AI is keeping track of that person for me, right? Because I have but yeah, that's
I
different
got you. I think
documentation than
that
what I'm usually thinking. Yeah.
Zoom has a Copilot AI companion. If you use it, you can go and you could start asking questions on the side. Hey, what did Jake say during this call? Or
Yeah,
what did
but I'm talking about just in life too, like getting my email, having a centralized place for
oh
like emails. I have Facebook things, I have voice notes, like, hey, I just had to call with somebody, like a centralized I'll share a video but this is not something for right now because it'll be a little bit, but it's like a personal memory bank, a second brain uh, that's not going to be for scaling a process or an application, but this is good for just, like general purpose, more broad remembering kind of a thing.
That's what I use Omi
Remio.
for.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Omi, well, so Limitless got bought by Meta, and they're so they're shutting down their operation. But Omi was a competitor that came out as more of an open source model that is multi-device compatible for wearable like AI tech. And so essentially, like you're talking about like a personal memory bank or things like that, like how I was talking about, like I talk through what I'm doing, like even if it's just me in the room. The reason is I'm talking to my Omi, which records 24/7, 365, and it creates like the ultimate personal memory bank for me. Um, that's like one of the tools that I'm testing for documentation right now.
Yeah, I'd be really curious because where I find again, there's two types of like documenting like the general process and what you said about it, things like that. And then there's the kind of like the documenting an app or a process kind of at scale of really kind of like breaking it down into like what's actually happening and working through because you can document what's happening now, but documenting that isn't going to, or just taking that information isn't going to challenge how things are. Like if you're taking a workflow, right? We can open up a workflow. We can document what's happening. Like take the JSON of a workflow. That's how the workflow is working. But going through the workflow and explaining why does this work and what is it trying to do? What other dependencies are happening? Going through that process and documenting that is a kind of different thing. But if AIs can get to that, I'd friggin' switch right away. Remio looks very cool. JSON upload for workflows now. I don't think it does. I'm beta testing Fur's tool. I'm not sure if he's got links to it yet. But Fur's got one that's like, and I think some of the AIs can output the JSON. I think not plugins. What's the Chris Stone's with him? Marketer's Toolkit. I think their thing can output the JSON, but First Tool is kind of cool is that you can just literally just kind of log in. You can just pull any of your snapshots or your current account, and it'll give you all of the workflows JSONs in one go. Cam, do you know about that?
I don't know about his system. Yeah, I don't know his system. I use a complete different one.
No, but you just, yeah, what are you using?
So I use a few things. So first I have Claude, right? Just because it's way in which it calculates. I don't use any other AI besides Claude. Next, I use for recording my screen. I use two. I use like right now it's recorded, so I use something called Komodo. It records everything. So every click that I have, I don't know if I can show you. Want me to show you?
Yeah, man, go for it.
Sure.
Typical Claude user.
My craziness. This is my craziness normally. Do you see the whole screen?
It's just loading now. Yeah. And he uses Dryo. My guy.
Dryo is probably better than every solution. You know that. You can integrate it. You can build infrastructure off of it. You can do a lot with it. But I use Dryo to document every process like this. So you'll see a recorder. It's Komodo. Komodo creates stuff like this. So like Loom has a recording, summarizes each step, and knows every click that I ever do. So it records all of that, and it transcribes absolutely everything. It highlights absolutely everything, and then I can create up my own page with it. So I usually use this involved with AI, and then I plug it into N8N is one of them. And then I usually, when documenting, we just document it like that. So it just SOPs documented, specific structure, and then it goes through the images and everything that we did if we need like actual documentation. But those are the ones I use. I use again Dryo documents the process. Then I use Komodo. We white label it as on screen, but it's white labeled. Komodo, it records everything that we do. On this side, Google, right? So in our suite, we have it as, I think we have it as the AI Studio. But you click that because you can record the screen and it will talk to you about recording the screen as an assistant. And then a mixture of all of those together mixed in with Claude, I can then have a meeting with a client and I say, hey, I need to do an email recap. Claude will store all of my information, all my history, everything that I have. And then it'll just generate that stuff for me. And then I have specific processes built within like N8N. So it's like, hey, I need to fulfill something. So then it would trigger a fulfillment and it would then fulfill it. And then it will automatically create me like the documentation. It'll automatically store in my notes. It'll automatically send them an email recap with everything. So it's, yeah, I just automated shiz. So that's what I do.
Yeah. So that's one area, that's the area that I'm trying to create. Here, I'm going to show, I think just as an interesting contrast, I'm going to show kind of how I've done the documentation that some of you might know about my Airtable that I've used. And anyway, I'm just going to start showing it, and I think it'll become clear where I'm kind of going at here. So really quickly, my documentation that I've had for high level, what it really is at the end of the day, the actual value of what it is just that I've figured out what are like the 5 or 6 main pieces of information that account managers, tech people need, business, what is the basic fundamentals of what information you need to run a high level at scale. All the documentation is just the formatting of putting all of the information about workflows. It's just like, hey, I have a table for all my workflows. I have a table for all of the email templates. And where I've always struggled with AI to do when I'm talking about documenting what a snapshot is or how it works, AI will be really good for like 95%. It'll present really well. It'll sound really cool. But then when I test it in the real world, when you start putting it under load, that 5% of the times it gets wrong happen to just being like every single person will run into that 5% because when they actually get into something like complicated or nuanced or trying to understand what is this snapshot, how it works. And if you throw 300 pages of documentation on it, it's cool. But now how do you keep that documentation up to date, right? if you change your snapshot, which one of those 300 pages that we've documented for hours on, that AI has been able to document, how do you keep that up to date and know which ones have changed? Well, you guess you could make another AI system to go through it and blah, 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 but the infrastructure is going to get massive. So what I've been talking about, so one is remembering things, what like Cameron, you're just saying, hey, I went through a process with someone, went on a call, I want that information. That's a great solution for that. When it comes to understanding how the snapshot works, the only AI that I've seen reliably is when you have everything linked. So very quickly, I have all my workflows in a snapshot here. So I have a description of what all those every single workflow does. But more importantly, I've linked to what all of those workflows, how they're actually linked to the different tags and custom fields. So when I pop into the AI that's built into Airtable, it can actually crawl through all the information, and the answers are scary accurate. And even more, it finds connections that I didn't even know about how the snapshot works or how to set it up, et cetera. So the reason why I wanted to show this is like, it feels to me like when people talk about documentation, there's almost like two types of documentation. And that's hopefully you guys might be getting it. Is like, there's remembering things and getting a general process and getting that recorded. That's one thing. But the other type of documentation is saying, okay, we have a product, we have a vibe code, a piece of AI, an N8N system, a snapshot, and we need to document it. Cool. But then we also need to report bugs on it. We need to understand what's how it's used. We need to be able to document how it's used and have it in a place that the AI, when it's looking at a workflow, it can see not just the workflow, but it also can then have access to which training documents, what needs to be set up to make this work. So if you ask the AI, hey, my newsletter isn't sending, well, the AI will have the information of, any bugs that are happening or reported right now. It will also have the latest version that's up to date. But then also this documentation can work. You can hand this off to another human and they can continue the process. So that's, I think, the one big idea that I want to that I'm trying to, figure out if AI can do what I've just explained, or if anyone has a system or an AI system that can do this without needing kind of the manual part that so far feels like it's a mandatory thing. But also just to make sure people understand, hey, when we're talking about documentation, recording things as they are and then also making it scalable, those are kind of two different topics. So that was a big one there. But yeah, Cam, so the system that you're working on, do you kind of have anything that might be close to what this is or that automates this? Or
this is, I mean, the stuff that you've organized here, the time that you spent is absolutely brilliant. I'm sure AI has stuff, but I'm sure that this strategy, this knowledge, this infrastructure, it doesn't have anything close. I mean, what I would love to do, I can tell you what I'd love to do is integrate this entire thing with AI. So that way AI can start thinking, going back and forth with it, because what you have here is brilliant. And I don't know if the viewers would quite capture the brilliance of it, because they're probably just seeing rows and columns and whatnot, but they're not actually seeing the processor that you have within here and the way in which it's organized, which is, I think, is absolutely brilliant.
Well, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Yeah. That's the thing is, like, I'm an AI user. I'm not an AI guy in a sense. Like, for me, I kind of just said, the reason why I also draw drone to Airtable is like, I don't want to have to manage an N8N system for whatever snapshot team I'm teaching, right? The AI that's built in Airtable, I don't have to touch anything. I just document it into here, and now the AI that's built in Airtable, just vanilla, works like flawlessly. The one challenge with using a Airtable or an external AI system is that it runs into the same kind of problem I found that a lot of AIs is that if you just give it lots and lots of context and lots of information, it starts to hallucinate over time. And an external thing has to, when it's connecting to Airtable, it has to load every single table, it has to go through every single table to try and find what it is. And then when it finds information, it has to then go load another bunch of tables and find what things are. But yeah, so anywho, so finding an AI system is one of those things, is finding when does the AI start to break, is really whatever AI documentation, human system you're using, there's a point when that documentation starts to break. And it's either when the AI starts to hallucinate, or when the people that you're building the documentation for stop reading it because it's just, or like, as we all know with high level, right? Why don't you ever go to the high level docs? Because there's like a 20% chance that you're going to waste all your time because the information might be wrong or outdated, right? That all of that documentation is useless as soon as someone loses trust that the documentation, or they lose trust that the AI is going to give them a right answer, right? Because it's like, why am I going to waste my time talking to an AI chatbot that might be right 95%, but when it's wrong, I'm not going to know about it. And I can't, and then because it's wrong 5% of the time, I can't safely stop remembering everything that the AI knows. I still have to maintain knowledge of everything the AI knows. So when that might be just one rule that I'm just making up on the spot right here is that whatever you're documenting, whether it's a mapping, spreadsheets, AI, is that really be concerned about when you can forget things. When can you safely forget what the AI knows? Right? Do you have to remember all of the source material? Does someone have to actually remember it all? Or can you safely dump it into that doc and then walk away and saying, hey, don't ask me, just ask the AI. It actually knows everything. Yeah. Cool, man. How would you kind of integrate with something with that? Like, what would be your first approach to that for like kind of accessing Airtable? Other than just, obviously you can do an MCP and all that, but.
You're asking me, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
Yeah. I mean, I would just build custom integrations that hit every node. Because you have a so think of it like a computer. You have a processor, right? And the processor, you're processing tons of data all at once, all the time, right? So there's some complexity there. But what I would do is I would build custom integrations, because Airtable's, I believe it's open docs from everything that I've done and everything that I've used on it. And it would be, I assume, fairly easy, I mean, process easy, but build easy might take a little bit of time, but it would be fairly easy to connect to the processor. Because again, how I see it is like, you have like an i5, an i7 and whatnot, right? You have this processor, and like AI is great for processing data on this single level, the single action. But if you can process it on multiple different actions and multiple different pieces at the same time, you can get it to truly think. And if you have a system like that, like I know it's focused on the go high level side and the snapshot side, but the same exact organization, the same exact system, if it was backed out and put on like an enterprise level side, right, where it's covering all different softwares, all different systems, I mean, the value.
I've done it. I've done this process a couple different times. I've documented AI chatbots. Like, I think like 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, there is a community of like chatbot builders. And so I was just realizing, oh, wait, okay, what do we need to know about these chatbots? What are their APIs that we need to remember? What's important is documentation is, to me, it's like there is that two-step process, is that you can't just document things that are happening and call that a day. You have to, one, understand what the system is you're actually working. And when we say system, we mean the app, but we could also mean your team. If you have a team of VAs or a team of people that you work with, right? You have to understand, what is the process does it take? Do you have to go through? What are all the decision points that need to be made? If you deliver a service to a client, like let's say you're building funnels, you need to know what are the customization points. What are the things that could be customized when you're doing that funnel? Because it's one thing to saying, hey, we built this funnel, but it's another thing to go, well, no, we have this funnel, and the headline could be customized. Like, do they have different layouts they could do? Do you change the copy? Do you change colors? Do you change out? Do you do any coding? Like, you need to know all those little micro things of defining that process. Because when you do that, now what you can do is now you can find out, okay, what is the bare minimum of documentation that we need to do all of that? It's like, oh, well, if we're not changing the layouts, we're not changing the design of our funnel, all we're doing is copy. Well, how do we consistently make copy? Well, we need to have these 4 pieces of information. If we ask them, what do they do? What is their brand? What do they believe? And what's their like, if just making stuff up. But if we have these 4 pieces of information, now we can have an AI create all of the content for this funnel system. But that wouldn't work if you didn't know, because if you didn't know that, oh, wait, the templates we use, we have to kind of customize like the sizing based on the image. And now that changes the amount of text. Well, now we've just made our problem way complicated, because now we need to know those 4 pieces of information and then how long it is and what layout they're using, etc. So to simplify it all, when we're talking about documentation at scale and not just documentation, the everyday thing, what's really important is you really have to know how things work and you have to slow things down to actually ask all those questions and saying and eliminate all the variables. And when you do that, you can then now start to actually document things, because you're not just documenting everything and hoping you got it all. You're being really specific in what you need and really exact, right? And because more information, you don't want to give the AI too much, because then it hallucinates. All right, we got Ms. Ms, you're working on an AI as an AI automation expert. You're learning from Bangladesh. Oh, thanks for getting. Yeah, man. Dude, man, we're all learning from each other, man. Nobody's an expert on AI other than people have been doing it for like 10, 15 years in the background here. And even then, right, we're all figuring this out together. And I don't know everything. Like I'm asking here to learn too. So does anyone have like a project that they're working on? They want to maybe talk through on maybe how everyone here might want to document it, or does anyone here have a project that they have no documentation on? Yeah, jump in, man.
I'll share this one. This one was kind of fun. I'm honestly, give me a second here and let me see if I could run it, but it's pretty early on in it right now. But one of the big issues that I see in the AI space, maybe some people would consider it an issue and some people wouldn't, but there was this whole big wave that hit with, generative AI. You can go to a chat and you could start talking to it, and you could have a conversation, you could learn things, maybe you could generate a photo, maybe you could generate a video. But now there's this whole new wave of AI, kind of this agentic AI. And I think a lot of people are not quite understanding what the difference between, the AI that we've been dealing with is versus agentic AI. So, and part of the reason for that is because it's hard to fathom this invisible thing actually going and doing work for you, right? It's already, the chat was a bit of a new thing, and now this thing could actually go out and it can, it could run my CRM for me, or it can build an app for me. It's very, new for people and kind of just hard to grasp, I would say. So I've been, it's just kind of been like a pet project with a buddy of mine who's like a very, very good designer. And we're essentially working on creating an interface that lets you really visualize how these agents work. And it's very, very early right now. So
So if I'm hearing you right, just to make sure I understand, you're saying so your guys are working on making kind of almost like the AI employee idea that that you can hand off tasks to, and they're like saying like, hey, it's going to, run some things. It's going to manage like as almost like a user in high level, right? You're trying to build something that can kind of do a certain set of tasks within there. Is that
so essentially it's like an interface for that, right? So like rather than right now, it's like, for example, like one you pretty much really to get like the full powers of Claude, for example, you need to go into like the terminal, use the CLI, and then you're going to really unlock the full powers of it. And that interface is not very cohesive for the average person. You know, like they're not going to really want to go into a terminal or understand what's going on. And, you know, it can be a bit scary. And essentially what the goal of this project is to offer an interface that enables the average person to actually grasp what an agent is and to actually better be able to work with them and finally understand, oh, this is like a coworker or employee. So we're taking a very gamified approach in doing so. Give me just a second. I'm just trying to run it right now. I gotta load up
No worries, man.
the
Yeah, my
environments.
first thoughts while you're getting that going, the thing that comes to mind for me right off the bat is when I think of an employee, what's the big dream scenario with an employee? You hand off a task and then you go about your day because you know the employee's doing it and you trust it's going to get done. And if there's any issues, it's going to kind of come to you, right? So where I'm thinking, that's really jumping into is like, you know, creating a set of tasks for where someone, what is that level of trust that someone has to give, especially if they're not as comfortable with like they're deep dived into AI. What's that point where they can go, okay, here's this AI, I'm gonna let it loose on one of my apps or something, and that trust that I don't have to look over its shoulder anymore. So yeah, man.
Yeah, so it's give me one second because it's give me one more second. I had something else running on
Yeah,
the
no
report,
problem.
so it just failed to
So
load up.
actually, I had a
If anyone
question
else
there.
wants to jump in while I work on loading
Yeah,
this up,
CJ. Yeah, CJ had something I wanted to Jen. So you're talking about could I reduce hallucination by spreading tasks across different context windows? You want to just jump on there, CJ? What did you mean by that there? Or if you're on there, is he still here?
Yeah, he's here.
See?
His audio is not working.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
You know what?
Hey,
My
CJ.
camera's going the other direction. Stupid thing.
Don't worry about the camera, man. It's all good, man. Let's just.
As I
can
turn the
hear you.
camera off, the microphone goes off. Anyway, it's pointing the wrong direction, but that's all right. Yeah, so I noticed that like if I'm working in, you know, a chat or with a model and that the as I hit the token limit, the older context falls off and then it just starts veering in a weird direction, giving me something that I don't even want. I'm like, hey, what happened, man? This is what I want. I go, oh, my bad. Here you go. And it gives me the same thing again. And I noticed that if I use like workflows, kind of like Cameron's doing, and I can reduce the amount of context that window has to take in and, you know, store it in Airtable or spread it across like different special, you know, models that are specialized for that task, then I get less hallucinations. In something like this, and I'm new to the to this whole documentation part. Like I just started doing it. But is that something
dude, well, I'm glad you put it. That's exactly in much less words than I used. What the Airtable, what I did with the Airtable, what I did is I don't just have all this information about all of the workflows in high level. What I've done is I've constrained the AI to just the information that is necessary for it to understand how the workflows work. How do people use this snapshot? And by people, we mean the clients that go through it, the contacts that go through it, but also how do the tech support and account managers manage things? And I've identified via all the different tables that you kind of saw blasted across the screen. I've constrained it and compartmentalized those pieces of information so that when the AI, and I ask the AI to figure something out, it has the exact context it needs. I have the links already kind of like mostly already kind of like dialed in for it. So the AI has one, less information to process. So yeah, you're going to have less token issues. But two, you're also kind of giving it less of a chance of kind of like filling in the blanks. So sometimes in AI, it's not even the token limit. It feels like the AI reads a certain amount of information, and it, just like humans do, we selectively look at in the information because it has like a billion, if it has a billion lines of text that it could read, you could read that in a couple different ways. But when you constrain it in a more structured Airtable or database, where the structure of the database implies certain context, that's when the AI stops hallucinating because it has less thinking to do. It's,
Makes a
you
ton
know,
of sense.
so
Okay. That's exactly what I was looking for. Perfect.
yeah. So the process that I go through, and this is when I'm consulting somebody on fixing an offer or improving their team, or just figuring or that the process is always is one, we have to actually understand how things work because there's a lot of knowledge that we just assume it's all common sense, but you got to get that. You actually have to be explicit on what's actually happening and what actually needs to be done. And then once you have that, you can then create a structure for categorizing the pieces of information you've learned. Hey, I'll just use the funnel because we're all kind of from that space, right? It's like, hey, a funnel as there's a structure to the content that needs to be edited. There's different parts of the funnel, the header, the hero image, what parts have to be customized. How do we customize things? Like, is it for a certain niche or do we have to find that information? But the more of those little kind of variables that you can identify, you can then kind of distill it down as what is the minimum information I need and how does that information connect? If you give it that, that's the part where AI does really well. Whereas the AI going the other way, where you ask the AI to document and figure things out, it's like giving an employee to like asking like a VA to do like, hey, I'm going to hire you to figure out how to best create a process. It's like, I don't know. They don't know. They don't know how your whole company works. It's too big of a task. But if you come in as a company, here's our process. Here's how things get done. This is how we do things at this company. What we need you to do is to do this part here. And this is all the different things that can kind of happen. Now, within that little role, now a human can go and make decisions. Now they can be empowered to make decisions to roll with it and, to figure out those new things because they have a nice box to work in and they already know the context of their role as it relates to everyone else on the team. So yeah, sorry for going long-winded there, but that's what we're doing here.
Man,
Yeah.
That helps so much. Like I said, I'm new to so much of this, and so this is gold. Thanks, man.
My thing loaded now. If it's cool if I share it.
Nah, not anymore. It's over. I'm so
All
past
right,
it. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm doing it anyway.
Okay, good. Love it.
So this is like it's really twofold. Like it really started as just like essentially trying to create an interface that people would understand, basically by creating like a virtual office environment. I got really lucky. Someone I recruited, just a very, very talented artist. They've done like VFX for Post Malone, and like they're just incredible. And they really taken a very creative take on it, but they're also very smart beyond the VFX. And I'll go over the infrastructure first, and then I'll show you guys the actual platform. So the whole purpose of this is like it's one office for every tool, right? It's a virtual environment, and literally think about an actual office, like a 15-person office, cubicles, whatnot, right? Everyone's working together, right? And so what this office has pretty much is um, we're gonna be able to connect. First of all, it's gonna have weighted RAG retrieval, which I'll get into more details about what that means. MCP calls, different MCP servers. It's gonna aggregate different MCPs, and then also different skills as well. So I'll get into more of what that means. And also because we're taking all these different MCP servers and we're aggregating them, it's creating a unified memory across all of your tools as well. So um, let me go a bit more. Yeah, so basically, what's cool as you walk around this virtual office, it weights the RAG differently. So what to retrieve. So as you walk maybe to the creative person's office, it is going to weigh the creative documentation and that part of the database more heavily to pull that information, right? So it is a game, but we're also trying to create another aspect of it, which is more so for developers, where there's going to be more so like a Slack type of interface or view for this as well. So again, unified memory by Postgres and Quadrant, MCP aggregation, spatial context or zone-based RAG weighting, and then
So that makes a lot of sense to AI people, but is this the actual, is this the
no, so that's just a
the
quick
product thing, or is this?
So this is the actual platform. Let me go ahead and load it up here. So this is a
Gotcha.
game made in Godot. And pretty much this is Claude, by the way. We asked Claude, what do you look like, Claude? And Claude told us he's a wizard. So Claude's a wizard now. This is your office, and it's still in production, right? We're still working on building it, but this is exactly the point so that people can understand it. So over here, you have your people, right? So you get something like a Slack chat. Let me close out this error. And you can go and you have all of your teammates that you can go and talk to, and all of these different teammates are for different things, right? You have your executive assistant, you have your front end coder, you have your back end coder, etc. So these are all of your teammates. Each of these teammates is going to be proficient at a different thing. And the way that they're proficient at different things is via the MCPs. MCPs, the way you could look at them is they're very much like an API. They help to essentially make APIs more usable for an agent. So what's cool about them is you can essentially make APIs dynamic. And what I mean by that is traditionally with APIs, if you want to just go and get a contact and pull it in to your system, you can do that. But now,
so if you don't mind me, sorry for jumping in. I just want to, maybe this might also help for other people. So what you have here is you have all those people online. Those are different AI team members. But what those team members are representing an MCP system that's been set up and defined its role, what it does, what it outputs. So it's somewhat of a consistent, that's why we can call it an entity, right? Or an actual person or a team member, because it has a scope of what it's doing and why you would use it. But you're just putting it in a way that a human, like, oh, I want to talk to Winston. For this task, I need to talk to Bob and Sally. Is that
right? Exactly. So the average person is not understanding that, like, how agentic AI works right now. So we're just trying to create an ecosystem that makes it understandable for the average person. But we're still trying to keep it fun and interesting. So that's why we have this whole. Why not? Right? Everything.
So and in the main interface, first jumping in again, but that for the game part, is that like more like, hey, those people will be represented there, so you could actually just kind of see them walk around. And
yeah, exactly.
Them,
so it's like we're just
gotcha.
providing the visual side of it, so that again, like, people actually get it. You know what I mean? And this part's being built out still, but essentially, the way every new project's gonna start is you're gonna have your assistant that's like, hey, what are we working on? What are you trying to do? And it's going to take you through a line of questionings, and basically through that line of questioning, it's going to determine, what MCP servers you need, what skills we need, and overall, like, what team members we need. And then we're going to be able to create essentially a calendar, right? So, at 9 a.m. you go and you meet with Johnny, the the researcher, so we can do more research on this. At 10 a.m. you go and you meet with Samantha, who does front-end design, right? And you kind of go through your day and you continue making progress that way, right? So it's just a very guided experience that we're making it very much so, like, you're going through your day as a normal person, meeting with your team members, and you're making progress on your projects.
So this is really cool. So I just want everyone to kind of really understand. I mean, maybe y'all do, but what's really, really important about what Jake's done here, right, is, for at least what I think is done, is that those team members, right, they have to have a very defined kind of role, right? So being able to explain exactly what a team member does, right? Because if we think of it in the human terms, right, if you have someone on your team and you don't know what they do, are you going to go to them for things? Are you going to ask them? Or, like, are you going to be able to use them to their full potential? No, right? So having team members instead of just a general AI that does all kinds of different things, like, having that is really, really friggin' important, and being able to articulate exactly that. And the interface is just friggin' brilliant. Because if we think about, like, if I was mapping out a problem of someone using AI, the first problem would be is that people don't know where to go to get a different thing done in AI. It's like, do you go to Claude? Do I go to GPT? Do I need to load up a different GPT? Do I have to put in a specific prompt? I don't know. Right. So what's the problem? The problem is that they don't know how to define what AI. Most people are not good at defining what they want their AI to do, which is why they're bad at prompting. So you can solve that by predefining what all these different agents are for them, so that they're no longer having to think about how to work with AI, and they can now just go to the AI that works in the way that they are used to thinking of it as people, or as friggin' dude. That's super awesome. So yeah, guys, that's exactly everything I was just saying, just manifested right in there, Jake. So man, I'm so happy. Like friggin', that's amazing.
It's it's a very exciting project, and it's something that, I think I personally, since I've really gotten started, especially with agentic AI, I feel a new level of like freedom and liberation almost. That I'm not someone that was ever super great at technical things on my computer or with my hands, and I've always been someone that I feel more so, a visionary or a creative person. But I do enjoy business. So for me, being able to use agents has just fully unleashed my creativity, and I just want other people to have that experience as well. And that's kind of the whole thought behind building this.
Yeah, and a big thing for takeaway for other people, like if you guys, if you really took out, I mean, the game part is freaking that's like almost kind of a next level, really kind of cool. But can you just go back to the team member section there again? The list of the team.
Let me we have relationships here,
No,
right? So this is I'm pulling up in the other stuff as well. But it's fun. Just another thing, just to gamify it more, like you have relationships with them. Like maybe you skip out on a meeting with them and you get minus 10 points with them, or you spend a little extra time with them and you get some more points with them.
That's freaking good, right? Because think about it. It's like, hey, if it's important for you to do content, right, to have a daily thought, right? Why don't we do it? Well, there's no accountability. All right. But if you could have those little bits there. But anyway, I wanted you guys to see on the left-hand side, it's really easy to get lost in a lot of the visuals and the cool stuff. But if we think about on the left-hand side, he's just on that is the visual model of kind of like of when you've documented things correctly, is when you can just define things as nice, kind of clear, organized sections. It's not one chat AI that does 12 things. This is, here's the 12 things as their own thing, as their own entity.
There's another view.
So you don't need to make it complex. If you can just get it down to that you can understand your projects and your builds and the things that you do in little compartments like that.
So we're just to, if anyone, I don't know, everyone's out with everything here, but we are open to more contributors on this project right now, and we are planning to open source this as well. So if anybody,
so how do you document? Oh, sorry, I'm interrupting you, man. I'm just keep finishing your keep finishing.
The bottom line, what I was saying, if anyone's interested in getting involved, feel free to reach out. We're not a big team right now. There's pretty much just me and my friend working on this, and we are definitely open to having conversations with people who are interested in getting involved. And again, like something to keep in mind is this is not like, we are looking to open source this. We also are looking to make money off of it as well, but our priority is just to bring it open source first and then take it from there. So if anyone's interested, feel free to add me as a friend on Facebook, and you could reach out and we could talk some more.
So one question that I have is just more on the other side there of things, like how do you, so you're saying you're working with a couple teams on that. How does documenting a project like this kind of work? Or is this going to is that going to open up a big thing? Yeah, because it's more of a programming thing.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I can show you the repo, and it's a combination of, I mean, honestly, most of the documentation I would say is done via AI. As things are done in the project, there's different files like agents.md, claude.md, and there's also there's the let me go open the project and let me pull open some more to see the way that, because honestly, I've been definitely, it's been my buddy Nikolai, who I've been working with, has definitely been taking a lot of the lead on actually building. I've definitely been assisting, but he's definitely been taking the lead. I came to him with the idea and he's just kind of like knocked it out of the park. So I would say he'd be the one that's more qualified to answer about the documentation. But what I'll do right now is I'll just do a screen share of our repo, and then um, that will probably clear up some answers as well about the documentation on this. So this is a private repo right now. So again, if you're interested in getting involved, you can reach out. Um, so this is the technical product brief here. So, executive summary, product vision, solution, and then we have mermaid charts. If you're familiar with mermaid charts, Michael, that kind of break down the architecture of things. Um, we have basic markdown here. We're using these pretty infographics as well, nano banana generated. Um, yeah,
So
so
when
I
you
mean,
have, so you said AI is doing a lot of this documenting of what's actually happening and things
correct.
like that.
Yeah, it's being shared
Updating,
by us, but yes.
and now how do you update something like this?
How do you update this type of documentation?
Yeah. So it's like, okay, what happens if your buddy there, he goes on a uh crazy week long like coding session and does a bunch of things. Is this being updated as he goes? Does he have to come in and update it? Do you have to just rerun the AI on stuff, or how does this get updated as the project goes?
I believe that it's done by AI, and then essentially, you review it and you trim it down or you add stuff. But I believe the systems that he has set up is pretty much the AI is creating all of this as he goes, essentially. So I would say, like, I think that yeah, I'm pretty sure, honestly, a lot of it is just straight up the AI is just adapting it as he goes, honestly. It's
Yeah,
you know that's the
I'd be
beautiful
curious
thing.
about that. Have them come, if maybe we can get them by on next Thursday there, because we're doing this every Thursday, by the way, guys, ladies and
Yeah, for
gents.
sure. And
Yeah, I'd love to.
it's been
Come on.
definitely just to kind of give you guys a better understanding of the roles. Like, I definitely at first was like, hauling ass, building this. I had the vision. I got something off the ground that, if anyone knows the Gather Out Town, it was kind of more so like what I was building. And then he came in and he saw the vision, and he kind of just like put the pedal to the metal and he started just ripping it. Like, he would go like 2, 3 days straight, sleep 12 hours, 2, 3 days straight, you sleep 12 hours. And so I've continuously, like, he'll come to me and like we'll have conversations about the vision of things. But at this point, where it's kind of ended up is he's pretty much fully taken over the development, and I'm on the side of driving the vision as well as marketing and operations and recruitment and whatnot. So
Man.
I did
Well, thanks
start
for
on the technical side, but I let the masters work.
that's what we're. I mean, this is a pretty technical, nerdy group, and you know what? It's cool, man. We're all helping each other there. Frank wanted to connect with you, and he couldn't find you on Facebook, so just check the
I'll
chats there,
drop my
guys.
Facebook page on the chat here.
But yeah, man. So, well, guys, I just want to be respectful of everyone's time here. I really
Oh, that's
appreciate
just
y'all
Facebook. Oh
coming.
my gosh. I literally just put facebook.com in the chat. I am
Oh.
Facebook. I am Facebook.
Yeah, there we go. Just look it up. Did you not have an MCP that'll allow someone to look you up for that? There you go. So anyway, guys, thank you all for coming to this every Thursday. This is what we're gonna do. Like, we're gonna nerd out about stuff, but we're gonna try and make it, we're gonna try and break it down of what's actually happening, right? So that there's lessons for everyone on that. So if you're still feeling like you're kind of just learning about documenting things or AI and that, it's totally cool. Come in and ask all these kind of questions, and we'll try and if you have a project that you're saying, hey, how do I want to get started? What I like to do is I just call somebody up and we'll just start talking about it, and we can go in depth. So help you out where you're at. So thank you all for having us. And
Oh,
Mario,
also
man,
one more
thank you
thing
so
as
much for doing this.
well. Definitely, I
Yeah,
don't know if
yeah.
anyone else has connections here. I do want to open source this project, but also never opposed to raising some money. If anyone knows anything or anybody to help with that, feel free to reach out as well.
For sure, man. Yeah, and as I said, guys, reach out to everyone on this call, man. There's a lot of smart people
Mario,
on
Michael,
this
thank you
freaking
guys for
call.
putting this call together as well. I appreciate it.
No problem. Yeah. Mr. Mario,
Well, guys,
final words there, sir. to
appreciate
close
all
her
of you.
off?
Yeah. No, this is amazing. I appreciate all of you for joining, and I will see you guys at office hours later tonight.
Thank you.